What if your country's capital city was slowly sinking into the sea, and there was almost nothing you could do to stop it? No wall could hold back the water, no pump could keep up. The ground itself was just disappearing, year after year. Most countries would dig in and fight it. Indonesia decided to do something almost no nation in modern history has ever dared to try. They decided to pick up their entire capital and move it to a brand new city, one that doesn't fully exist yet, built from scratch in the middle of the jungle. It's called Nusantara, a futuristic capital rising out of the rainforest of Borneo, more than 1,000 kilometers away from where the government sits today. And it carries a price tag of around $35 billion. On paper, it sounds impossible. And right now, the entire world is watching to see if Indonesia can actually pull it off. In this video, we're going to look at why Indonesia is walking away from one of the biggest cities on Earth, how you even begin to build a capital out of nothing, and the very real danger that this $35 billion dream could end up as an empty ghost city in the jungle. By the end, you'll understand the whole story behind one of the most ambitious projects on the planet. But before we dive in, please take a quick moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the biggest builds on the planet. It genuinely helps us out. Now, let's get into it. To understand why any country would do something this drastic, you first have to understand Jakarta. Today, Jakarta is one of the most crowded cities in the world. Around 10 million people live in the city itself, and more than 30 million in the wider metropolitan area. It is loud, packed, and choking on some of the worst traffic and pollution on Earth. Commutes that should take 20 minutes can stretch into hours. But that, believe it or not, is not even the real problem. The real problem is that Jakarta is sinking, and not slowly. It is the fastest sinking city on the entire planet. Here's why. For decades, as the city exploded in size, people and businesses drilled down and pumped out enormous amounts of groundwater from beneath their feet. As that water was sucked out, the soft ground above it began to compress and collapse downward. In some areas, the land has dropped by several meters. Entire neighborhoods now sit below sea level, and the city sits right on the coast. So the sea is creeping in. Floods that used to be rare now arrive again and again, swallowing streets, homes, and entire districts. Engineers have built giant sea walls just to hold back the ocean. And experts have warned that, without drastic action, huge parts of northern Jakarta could be permanently underwater within the coming decades. Just imagine that. The political and economic heart of a country of over 280 million people slowly drowning. So Indonesia faced a brutal choice. Pour a fortune into an endless war against the sea, a war it might still slowly lose. Or do something radical. In 2019, the president at the time, Joko Widodo, made the call. Indonesia would build a brand new capital, somewhere safer, somewhere on higher, more stable ground, somewhere with room to breathe and grow. And the location they chose was a stretch of rainforest on the island of Borneo, in a region called East Kalimantan. It sits closer to the center of Indonesia's vast chain of islands, far from the earthquakes and volcanoes that threaten so much of the country. And this is where the sheer scale of the ambition really hits you. They are not just building a few government offices and calling it a day. They are building an entire city, from absolutely nothing. A place designed, one day, to be home to nearly 2 million people. A new seat of power for the fourth most populous nation on Earth. They call it a smart forest city, and the vision is genuinely stunning. The plan is for roughly 2/3 of Nusantara to remain as protected green forest, woven right through the city. Buildings powered by renewable energy. A place designed so that you can reach almost anything you need within about 10 minutes, on foot, by bike, or by public transport. No endless traffic jams. No choking smog. The exact opposite of the Jakarta they are leaving behind. And at the very heart of it all sits the centerpiece, the presidential palace. It is shaped like a giant Garuda, the mythical eagle that is the national symbol of Indonesia. Its enormous bronze wings spreading out over the new capital. It is bold, dramatic, and unlike any government building on Earth. And believe it or not, that palace is already standing. This isn't just a fancy animation. It is real, and it is being built right now. Construction began back in 2022, and the progress has been very real. The core government district is nearly finished. Roads, bridges, tunnels, ministry buildings, apartment blocks, hospitals, all rising up out of land that, just a few years ago, was nothing but thick jungle. The government's goal is for Nusantara to officially become Indonesia's political capital by 2028, once the parliament and the courts have moved in. And the full, complete city, that is a marathon, not a sprint. The entire vision isn't expected to be finished until 2045, a date chosen carefully because it marks the 100th anniversary of Indonesian independence. So far, this might sound like a clean, inspiring success story. A bold country solving a deadly problem by building a beautiful green city of the future. But here is where it gets complicated. Because in the last couple of years, this dream has slammed straight into a very serious wall. That wall is money. Building a city from scratch is staggeringly, almost unbelievably expensive. And the original plan had a major weak point built right into it. The government only ever intended to pay for a small part of the cost itself. The plan depended on private investors, both Indonesian and foreign, to cover the vast majority of it, around 80%. And that is exactly where things started to go wrong. A lot of that private money has been slow, cautious, and hesitant to actually show up. Investors looked at the risk, the remote location, and the enormous cost, and many of them held back. Then the politics shifted. The man who dreamed up Nusantara, President Widodo, reached the end of his term and left office in 2024. The new president, Prabowo Subianto, took over, and critics quickly began to question whether he shared the same burning passion for the project. The answer seemed to come in the budget. The government's own spending on Nusantara was slashed dramatically. It dropped from about $2 billion in 2024 to just a few $100 million for 2026. In a single year, the state's funding was cut by around 85%. And that has led to one frightening question. The question that now hangs over the entire project. What happens if you build half a city, and then the money simply runs out? Critics have started using two chilling words: ghost city. They paint a picture of gleaming, empty government buildings, wide, silent roads with no traffic, beautiful parks with almost no one in them. And right now, that fear is not crazy. Despite all the construction, the core of Nusantara is currently home to only around 10,000 people. Many of them construction workers and a small handful of civil servants. For a place that is meant to one day hold nearly 2 million, that is a city still waiting to be born. There are other shadows hanging over the dream too. Environmental groups have warned that carving a massive new city out of the Borneo rainforest could damage one of the most precious ecosystems on the planet, home to orangutans and countless other species. And local indigenous communities, who have lived on this land for generations, have raised real concerns about what this enormous project means for their homes and their future. Even Indonesia's own constitutional court weighed in, confirming that, legally, Jakarta technically remains the capital until the formal handover is truly complete. The dream, in other words, is still officially unfinished. But here's the thing, despite all of it, the doubts, the budget cuts, the ghost city warnings, Indonesia is not backing down. In 2026, around 4,000 civil servants are being relocated to the new capital, a real physical step toward making it a working city. The legislative and judicial buildings are under active construction, aiming to be finished by 2027. And President Prabowo, the very man so many people doubted, made his first overnight stay at the site in early 2026. A clear, deliberate signal that he intends to see this through. And foreign investors, including major groups from the Gulf, are slowly beginning to put real money on the table. So here is where it all stands today. Indonesia is attempting something genuinely historic. It is turning its back on a sinking megacity of 30 million people and trying to will a brand new, green, high-tech capital into existence in the middle of a rainforest against enormous odds. If it works, Nusantara could become a model for how the entire world builds cities in an age of rising seas, a blueprint for the future. But if it fails, it becomes one of the most expensive empty cities ever built. A monument to a dream that reached too far. The truth is, a project this big, this bold, was never going to be easy. It was always going to be a gamble. A bet that an entire nation could outrun the ocean by building its own future from scratch in the jungle. And whether that bet finally pays off or collapses under its own weight is a story still being written right now, one building at a time, deep in the heart of Borneo. So what do you think? Is Nusantara a brilliant, courageous answer to an impossible problem? Or is it a $35 billion mistake in the making? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the projects shaping our world. Until next time, stay curious, and we'll see you in the next one.